How do you capture new business? How do you identify high value guests? Well, this is all part of our breakout conversations as part of the Kensington Roundtable Roadshow. But first, we hear about different techniques of capturing new business. First, alternative distribution from Rory King of Rory's Travel Club. Then, conversion success from Net Affinity's Siggy Schrott. Finally, securing corporate business with Oracle's Geraldine Brennan. Let's hear their advice before we dive into the breakout feedback sessions from the hoteliers in the room.
Hotelier's Voice. Exploring opportunity in hospitality with Ryan Haynes. Hear from the people making a difference. From revenue to operations, marketing to digitalization, learn the thinking behind their decisions.
So, Rory, thank you for joining us for the final leg in this set for the Roundtable Roadshow. A new sponsor, gold sponsor, Rory's Travel Club. First, can you start off by telling us a bit about Rory's Travel Club, please?
Yeah. Rory's Travel Club is a subscription. The consumer pays £10 a year to access discounts on hotels, attractions, cruises. We're working with Disneyland Paris, Man United. Obviously, you don't care about that. You just care about hotels. But from a hotel point of view, we are here to, basically our goal is to offer our members who pay the £10 the best deals. Our members will always book direct. There's no fees, no commission, and we're here to support hotels. We're working with everything from the big brand hotels, from Great Coronation you were mentioning, IHG, Best Western, to individual boutique properties as well.
Well, congratulations first on 5 years and now for entering the UK market, because obviously you've been speaking to a couple of members of your team for the last few months. What is that like, trying to enter a different market as a supplier in this industry?
Yeah, I suppose just to put it into context, in Ireland we've 270,000 customers, which is 1 in 20 households. I only found out recently. So we've 270,000 people that subscribe to us. They're interested in travel. They want to travel. And when it comes to staycations, they trust us. They know that we do everything we do is with integrity, and that's why we've been able to get some of the biggest and best hotel names to kind of work with us. And I suppose the results speak for themselves. Obviously, from a hotel point of view, if you're not paying us to work with us and we're able to market you to a massive audience and bring you direct bookings, which is the key thing here, is our customer becomes your customer. There's no fees, no commission. And from what I see in the English market, if you're looking to put a deal out or put an offer out, there's no one offering what we can do.
I mean, that's the title, right? Alternative distribution that we're talking about today. And it is a challenge whereby you've got a lot of third parties in the industry. Effectively, obviously, you're going out to market as a brand, Rory's Travel Club, and you're delivering that direct booking. How are you seeing hotels are rethinking the partnerships to really secure the right revenue?
Yeah, I suppose you have to diversify. I think, and we, as I say, we work with about 300 hotels. We speak to them on the daily. I think there's no one avenue to go. I think, of course, if you're getting bookings, you need to be looking at as many different avenues as possible that suit your brand and your business. But for us, we've come into this market. We had a waiting list of 100,000 people. We just launched on the 1st of June. We're working with about 70 hotels in the UK. We've about 10 5-star hotels. We've some massive big name group hotels that have really, really quality product. But what we're doing is we're working on behalf of the consumer. If we can get the consumer the best and the fairest price while also bringing the hotel exactly what they need as a direct booking, then everyone can win here together.
Is there any sort of particular demographic you'd say your consumers fit into? Because, I mean, obviously there's a lot of subscription models out there, but why would they choose to be part of, how will they see themselves aligned with Rory?
Yeah, I suppose it's that integrity piece. Like, we've built ourselves through trust. I've spoke about it time and time again. The idea came about. I worked, maybe some of you know the crowd, Smartbox. They're a French company. They take 30% commissions. Their model, massive in France. I think they actually have a subsidiary here. It's Red Letter Days, I think. And I worked for them. And my job, this was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. My job was ringing up hotels and saying, "Do you want to sign up with us? And we're going to take 30% commission." And it pained me as a consumer that likes to travel myself. I said, surely there's a bit better way that the consumer can save 30%. The hotel gets the direct bookings and we all win together. So we've come up with this subscription model, £10 a year. As I say, in Ireland, with 270,000 customers. But I truly believe in the first 12 months, we'll have more customers in England than we do in Ireland.
Excellent, Rory. Thank you ever so much. Okay, now our silver sponsor, Net Affinity, Siggy Schrott, conversion success. This is your 5th roundtable with Net Affinity. It's second, as
Second.
part, you being part of Net Affinity.
Yes.
So thank you. So looking at managing success, direct traffic success, or because we were having this conversation just now on the live that when consumers, guests come to a website, direct website, the general conversion is 1 to 2%. OTAs, it's 4 to 5%. How can hotels go about really ensuring their conversion is strong?
So it's a bit of a conundrum, I think, especially since recently. And so what we find with our customers is that, and I liken it a little bit to maybe a revenue manager's challenge in order to maintain their rate, but also grow occupancy levels at the same time. It's a very hard thing to do, and it's a similar thing to increasing traffic and conversion at the same time simultaneously. That's kind of been made harder as well through GDPR and the Digital Markets Act. Because of these two things, we find that we can really only record about 30 to 40% of the traffic that hits the websites. And that's because people are just not opting into those cookie policies. And that's kind of giving us a bit of a headache. So what we find is that, you can focus on your bottom of funnel conversion. Offer cheaper rates, you get much higher conversion, but then you're really hurting your long-term growth or revenue growth, right? So it's really about finding a balance between the bottom of the funnel and the top of the funnel. So they're equally important. It's a bit of a balancing act, but that's when you should look at partners that can actually keep on top of these things and help you out with that as well.
Looking at where you can manipulate the funnel as and where necessary. Right. I mean, things are changing for search all the time, particularly at the moment. How can you ensure that websites remain relevant to guests' expectations?
So we talked about this at the table earlier. It's really about finding your authentic voice and writing in that voice. So your content has to reflect that, and it should really be written by somebody who's intimately familiar with your property. So don't rely on ChatGPT and Claude and Code to outsource your content writing, because people will know the difference, right, when they're reading it. And so how do you expect somebody to read your content and even book with you if it doesn't seem like it's coming from an authentic voice in the first place? So that's why we as well at Net Affinity, we don't do content writing. We give recommendations and we make sure that the customer writes in their own voice, because that usually works best.
Providing them a lot of support and framework along the way.
Of course, yeah.
Because, I mean, it does need to be written in a certain way. It needs to be picked up by search across the different, especially nowadays with the AI LLMs, right?
Exactly. So we give the guidance, but again, it needs to come from the property, and it needs to be somebody who knows the property intimately. They have to have some pride in it, and that really will show in the way they're writing it. And again, don't rely on ChatGPT.
We are seeing shifting demand patterns, as we've already as we've already had this conversation today. That means, you need to also adapt to how you target those markets and make sure that you're pinpointing the right audiences. How do you guys go about doing that?
So I think for the longest time, hotels have always relied on using basic demographics for their segmentation. So that would be, males between the age of 30 and 55, and they love to play golf. So that's a bit too simplistic nowadays. You have to go a lot deeper. So what we recommend, and we do that with our clients as well, is to create very detailed buyer personas. And those buyer personas will really help you to understand, okay, what kind of content do I need to write to appeal to that specific buyer, but also what kind of campaigns do I need to build around this. I like to use an example, which is King Charles and Ozzy Osbourne. If Ozzy was still alive, then we could say they're of the same age. They are on their second marriages. They have adult children. They also have adult grandchildren. And so on paper, they're the same demographic, right? But would they really be booking the same hotels? Would they want to book the same kind of room types, packages? Would they want to do the same kind of activities? Probably not, right? So really, it's a really good time investment by the hotel to create their detailed buyer personas. And I'm talking 3 or 4 pages of great detail about who that particular person is that I want to attract, and then build everything around that story, essentially.
I mean, this is a plug for my podcast, Hotelier's Voice. The Headland edition that we had was really interesting because Sharon talked about the work that they did with the Headlands in order to, in fact, have the most successful year they've ever had for direct bookings, because they realized that a key potential source market was Germany. And they massively targeted the German market, and as a result, secured the occupancy. So it is, as you say, identifying your best best buyer or guest personas, and then fishing in the right ponds for those guest personas. So it definitely needs a lot broader thought than, as you say, just a demographic. So really fascinating when you dive into it a lot more. Siggy, thank you very much indeed. Okay, next interview is with Platinum sponsor Oracle, Geraldine Brennan, securing corporate business. Thank you for joining us. So what are we seeing in the corporate market at the moment?
So if you compare last year to 2024, sales, if you measure it by contracts signed and events held, actually decreased, but this was offset by higher attendance and a greater spend per event. But with increased competition out there, converting your business is more important than ever. And just like when you and I spend money, we want quality, we want value. Event planners want the same. They want to know they're getting a return. They want creativity, they want service. 2026 has started on a very solid footing. Demand is steady and confidence in in-person events is continuing to grow. However, growth is not coming from increased volume. It's coming from better conversion and higher value bookings. And this picture, though, is slightly nuanced as well, because while that demand is steady, costs are a real concern out there, especially energy and anything that's inflation driven. So overall, it's a steady value driven market rather than a high growth market.
So from that sense, you really need to make sure that you're increasing the operational efficiencies, but also, I guess, responding to your RFPs as quickly as possible with something that is incredibly relevant, that really touches what the experience that they're looking on delivering to their to their audiences.
Yeah, so I would say that to improve that efficiency, there's kind of 4 areas you should focus on. One is speed, as you've just mentioned, simplicity, being proactive and prioritizing. So speed is critical. Event planners are sending their inquiries out to multiple properties, and responding within minutes rather than days can be the difference between winning that business or losing it. And simplicity, if you simplify the buying process, it can have, a great, immediate impact for you. Clients want, clear packages, transparent pricing, and this helps to reduce friction, and it can also make them convert and confirm their business faster. Prioritize. We like to think that every inquiry is equal, but you want your sales to be focusing on that high value business rather than on loads of business that really isn't generating a lot for you. And also be proactive. You want your teams to be building the relationships, follow up with those past clients, target those need periods, try and generate more revenue rather than just relying on that inbound demand that's coming in.
So how can opera sales and event management help?
So, the integrated Opera Cloud and Opera Sales and Event Management provides that one source of truth for your teams, whether they're events, reservations, front office, operations. They're all working in that same environment. It improves collaboration. It removes that duplication of data entry, and also it helps to reduce any miscommunication or double bookings in the system. You've got that access to real-time inventory for both bedrooms and meeting space, and your guest data that helps you to service your clients and deal with their inquiries and try and upsell rather than just focusing on admin tasks. And mobility is built into our Opera products, whether you're looking at Opera Cloud or you're looking at Symphony, they're both mobile. You can, use them with, throughout the whole building. And for Symphony, being able to order at table and work with other partners to do things like, ordering drinks through QR codes for big functions, that can all help drive revenue and upsell in your properties.
Excellent, Geraldine. Thank you very much
Thank you.
indeed. So then there comes a point at the Roundtable Roadshows where we split into breakout groups, and this gives the opportunity for people in the room to be able to talk about the topics that we were just listening to. I gave them a few minutes to be able to share their perspectives and how they're approaching upselling, revenue generation, commercially optimizing performance of their teams and across different channels. So let's hear what they had to say, shall we?
So we kind of focused around the team element as well. So when you're we've touched on it, but when you're talking about revenue and trying to make profits and stuff, bringing the whole team on the journey, not just having that sit with senior management, for example, making the decisions, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to change, about bringing the whole team on that journey to kind of talk about that camaraderie piece as well. If we're all striving to do the same thing, you're going to get more buy-in, and actually the team will be invested in trying to sort of strive forward and do what the business is trying to achieve from a revenue and a profit point of view as well. So not just kind of keeping it at top level and going, this is what we're doing, guys, everyone go along with it, actually bringing everyone on that journey together.
Michael, do you mind if I just pick your brains a second? Because, I mean, finance is your thing. That's what you do within hotels,
That's
right? We got to appeal to those numbers. We got to look after those numbers. And I've heard a lot recently that decisions when it comes to investment comes down to the accounts team, because it's like, does it make sense on paper? Where can general managers, commercial directors, or hotel managers have influence on the finance team to recognize the wider, longer value of some of these investments?
I think it's all about creating these partnerships, right? In terms of the finance team has over the last years completely evolved into a different breed of people, right? They shouldn't be anymore those back office people that are just responsible for creating reports. Still, I provide a lot of data, but it's about creating that partnership as well, making commercial decisions. You've spoken about creating awareness of the team, right? If you're looking at a hotel operating statement, right, not a single aspect there is just solely responsible for creating that profitability. It's all of those different aspects you need to consider. So revenue generation, we spoke about this at length today in terms of market segmentation, having the right tools in place and so on. But it's about as well, what is the flow through? It's creating that knowledge with the team members in terms of what is a flow through? How do I influence cost of sale, payroll, operating expenses, any other fixed components, and so on, in order to create that long-term sustainable profitability I would want to have. The finance aspect, the finance teams are the key drivers of providing that support to the business.
What's fascinating, some of the conversations that I have, and we've already seen within hospitality, and I'm sorry, Paul, as I'm about to say this, hotels are more likely to invest in renovation and refurbishment than they are perhaps in a technology that's going to alleviate a lot of the operational efficiencies that are within the business. How is that business case much more successful to say, oh, give it a lick of paint, rather than sort of, we will install this system and we'll reduce the cost by 5%?
It's a good question. You have to make the right decision in terms of where you would want to invest with your CapEx, right? To me, certainly anything that heightens the guest experience, prolongs the guest experience, generates the top line performance is a priority. But when we talk about systems, it's equally important, because in the end of the day, you're looking for long-term sustainability, long-term asset value creation. So you've got to make that decision together with your owners, together with your operators, in terms of what is it that I would want to achieve. So an answer that there isn't really a direct answer or recipe for that. You've got to know your business. You've got to know what your guests are. And subsequently, you've got to make the right decision as to how you would want to proceed with CapEx investment.
And it sounds like, work as a team with the finance team and not just see them as the other.
Absolutely. Utilize the finance team to support you with data, with recommendations, but also integrate a finance director or senior finance people in the commercial decision making for your business.
Thank you very much. Can we get over to Billy here, please, at Hosper?
we need to be recruiting people with the right skills in the industry who understand finance, who understand IT, and are able to support the ROI, the investment decisions that are being made in the business. I mean, that is. I'm sorry, I'm my back to behind, but I mean that is fundamental to HOSPA as an organisation. I mean, our mission is to really be the respected association for hospitality professionals across the business, and it is about really from a pillar point of view. It's about supporting our members in terms of their development and networking. It's about providing professional development, which we brought in house. It's also about actually talking to the industry and representing the industry on some of the challenges that we have. And finally, it's about working with sponsors who are cutting edge, who are driving change within the in the industry and supporting it in terms of the challenges that it has day to day.
Thank you. Okay, behind us here, a takeaway.
So we obviously were talking about tech and profitability, and I think I think Jonathan made a kind of good point about kind of knowing the guest and almost targeting the guest. So rather than just kind of accepting anyone that comes in through the booking engine, to actually really try and sort of tailor your outbound campaigning. Is this roughly right? Into kind of actually targeting specific guests. So rather than just having a sort of the guest that's going to come in and on the cheap rate and then have a jug of water for dinner and go down the local pub, to actually kind of look for the ones that are going to be spending their money in house. I think that was a similar message from Iconic as well. Yeah.
Excellent. I mean, it's one of the things that Kelp, you were actually talking about at length, really, about targeting that high value guest.
Yes, understanding the lifetime value of your guest, if there's repeat business, even if it's one-off, how much revenue are they generating for the business, and then segmenting it further to understand where they're coming from. Are they coming from booking.com? Are they coming from brand.com? Further down, other marketing channels, email, paid, social, different attribution layers. But broadly, if you understand where your high value guests are coming from at which periods, it really stands to put you in a good position to be able to pull the right lever at the right time to fill the hotel when you need it, and not just have a one size fits all approach for all 12 months of the year.
Oh, there's so much discussion in and around how to capture new business and identify high value guests. You really had to be in the room to take advantage. So, of course, don't miss out. Why would you? Join one of our Roundtable roadshows. Check out for the latest editions coming your way. We're going north in September, where we're going to be in County Durham and South Yorkshire. Then we're going to be planning out our 2027 editions. You want to host? Get in contact. Or join us on one of these sessions. Look out for the dates and simply register. Otherwise, if you want to sponsor, just drop me an email. You can do all of this on ryan@hoteliersvoice.com. Thank you so much for listening. Share and care. Ciao for now.